Welcome to The Corner, La Source's digital show dedicated to the sport and entertainment industry. Every 2 weeks, we invite a professional to share their experience, background, and challenges. The sport industry moves fast, and having their insights is the best way to keep up to speed. Welcome to The Corner.
Hello everyone, welcome to our new The Corner episode. This is my pleasure to welcome Jay Riola today. Hey Jay, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the opportunity. Happy to talk to you.
Yeah, we had a quick chat before starting this episode, and actually I was saying that I'm quite pumped, quite excited to have you because you have quite an impressive CV and to a certain extent a resume that is music to my ears, given my own personal experience. So I'm really excited, and I hope the audience will appreciate what they will be listening to. Um, Usually, we start a little bit with a bit of background from your side. So just for the people, like you are the executive VP, so the vice president of strategy and innovation at the Orlando Magic, so the franchise within the NBA. But the best is to start with you giving us a bit of your backgrounds, why sports as well, and if
Sure.
you can present.
Yeah, happy to dive into that. So as you touched on my role today, I head up our business strategy and innovation team. And I've been with the Magic. This was my 17th season. So I actually started quite some time ago in 2006 and have had the opportunity to grow up in the organization, but in a variety of different roles that have continued to change and evolve and allow me to get involved in different spaces. But rewinding even beyond my time with the Magic, I, like many in sports and in sports business, grew up as an athlete. I was a basketball player and played in college. I played at a small university in San Antonio, Texas, and realized during my time in college that there was an opportunity for me to blend my passion and interest in business with the industry of sports. And so in particular, I've always been a huge NBA fan. Just kind of, I characterize myself as an NBA junkie. I've always loved the league and the players and the teams. And so when I was in school in San Antonio, I did internships with the Denver Nuggets, which is where I'm originally from, Denver, Colorado. I did internships with the San Antonio Spurs and their WNBA team at the time. I did an internship with USA Basketball, and ultimately that led me to an internship here in Orlando. And so I am a little bit of the stereotypical kind of fighting to keep your foot in the door. Yeah, break through. But all of those opportunities were in different areas of the business, and I think helped guide me to what is the right fit for my skills, my passion, and my interest in terms of analytical thinking, being data driven, being kind of strategic in thought. And so when I started with the Magic in 2006, I worked in a department that was tasked with working with the city and the county and some other organizations to bring a new arena to the city and a new arena for the Magic to play in. And those were really my first 4 years with the organization. Were focused on a new arena.
The arena project. Okay.
Correct.
Let me pause on that one, Jay, even when we started, because 16 years, for me, it's a long experience, and I love it because you've seen the ups, you've seen the downs, you've been in different positions, which is great because that gives another level of insights and of expertise within the game we love. But there are two things. First, you started way high. Two things for me. Pro player, we have a specific track with former international players. So I will come back to that one. But the other one is you've mentioned different internships. And usually people listening to us or people in the industry, they like to have some kind of best practices or best advices in terms of how to make it to certain organization or how to get into sports or how to make this work at their own personal level. So would you say doing different internships while you're at the college or visiting different vertical or different departments in different teams or leagues is like a prerequisite, or is it like some kind of a best way to get into a franchise or a big like league, or what's your experience on that, knowing all what you've done?
Yeah, I would. So for me, my personal experience is that my internships helped build a network of people, right? And each one of them, I got to know my supervisor, my colleagues, and those helped me because one opportunity led to the next, and so in some cases it was a summer internship and I knew that my time there was going to be short. So I tried to not only perform and deliver, but build relationships. And then the next summer when I needed an internship, I could call upon the people I knew at the Nuggets to tell the Spurs that
reference,
as a reference is a solid candidate. What to me was valuable, but perhaps a little bit different than what you're describing, is my internships were in grassroots marketing, PR and communications, game presentation, in different areas that, as I went through them, I enjoyed being a part of, but I didn't see a career for myself in that space. But I also think that they educated me on the operations of others in the business and what skills and talents are required to perform in those. Yeah, so it was really educational. Today, I do think
at least you knew what you didn't want to do.
Yeah,
like it allowed you to understand what you don't want to do.
Correct. I think today I would encourage anyone who's really knows they're passionate about sports to just find ways to get involved, because I think you'll learn a lot from any space, even if it's learning what you don't want to do for your career, but it educates you more on the business and the industry. I do think today it's different, especially in my space in analytics and innovation. I think it's more frequent that we are looking to outside industries and people with technical skills or backgrounds in with Fortune 500 companies or hospitality, not sports, but hospitality, where there's similar business nature to inventory management, revenue management, customer personalization, and marketing. And so I think that today it's probably different than it was when I started almost 20 years ago, in that you don't have to have a sports background, because sports has become so commercialized and modern in many respects that there's value in having experiences in different industries.
That's right. And actually, it may be even a perk. Like it can be even like at your own advantage to have this kind of different look or understanding from other industries. So okay, I like it, and I also like, to my own experience, I think understanding how that works in other departments or in other businesses, still part of the franchise, is actually key in terms of performing your own area. If I'm thinking even strategy or innovation, in terms of like the way you build certain contracts or sponsorship deals or anything like that, you need to understand how they are executed at the ground level or by the teams when there is a game. Because if you don't, then sometimes you you come up with silly ideas or silly ways to build that new partnership or certain assets that cannot just be executed or won't work out. So I definitely agree on that one. And the second one I want to jump into before we go into the full experience you've had at the Magic, but former professional. So usually, we talk about like how it's like, and to move from like being like a pro athlete to being off the court. What's for you? What was the main thing that you get from being like a pro level athlete in basketball to perform more in a managerial role?
Well, firstly, I was far from a pro. I was a small time college basketball player, but I did play in college. And I think for me, it was evident quickly that if I wanted to stay in sports, it was in more a professional administrative role. It wasn't as a player. It was working on the business side or the front office side. And I think those, as I was preparing for the end of my playing days, it kind of that was my focus, is okay, how can I find the right fit for what I bring to the table? So I think But I think the lessons learned through sports are incredibly valuable in any respect, right? In being a team player, in work ethic, and having patience at time, and kind of understanding. And so a lot of, I think, those continue to be a value to me and others. I think so often you talk to people all over, and so often people in the business side played at an amateur level, some played, at a collegiate or professional level, and just have that as a background. And it's something that really is kind of hardwired in them. It's just a passion for sports and a passion for being around competition in the game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, but I'm quite impressed actually. Like from college, playing that level, all the internship, and then 16 years. 16 years at the Magic. I mean,
I know
I wanted
it sounds forever, but it's gone by fast.
No, but I guess like you already a bit started, but tell me I mean, before business strategy and innovation, all of that. I mean, tell me before 2017, 2018, so the last
Sure.
part of your journey, like Hamway Center, maybe it was not even something back in the days, like if you were telling me. So can you drive us into like
Yeah.
let's say like the first 10 years, 10 plus years of the
Sure.
Magic
Well,
experience?
so the first 4 years, and going back to, similar to the conversation around my internships, working on a new arena project was a crash course in many ways in learning sports business, learning so we were able to work with the architects and the designers, to and all of the operators, different departments, to understand what they needed in a venue to be able to operate effectively. And so we studied other basketball and hockey arenas. We studied football and soccer stadium. Like, we really studied all of these different design philosophies and what was being put into practice throughout sports. And
So you had the full 360 view.
yeah, it helped you understand ticketing, sponsorship, communications, player operations, arena operations, and not just for our NBA club. We were working with the city of Orlando, owns and operates our venue and is responsible for bringing in concerts and family events. And so I understood what was needed for them to be able to draw those types of shows. And so those 4 years were really incredibly educational for me, and giving me a really solid foundation. But what I think, kind of transitioning the conversation to more about data, analytics, and innovation, what was interesting was what was happening at the time in business and in sports. So in 2010, big data and analytics as a buzzword had taken off, right? And it was becoming corporate strategies across the board in all industries were thinking about data capture, data management. How do we better utilize the data we have to gain insights into our customers and our business? So that was one. And we as a team committed to be technologically advanced, not just in scoreboards and video displays and signage, but in investing in systems and people, and then implementing that throughout our business. The other thing here in the US in particular at that time that had taken off was secondary ticket markets. So StubHub and, now today, SeatGeek and Vivid and all of these different resale marketplaces had disrupted the way that sports teams were thinking about their tickets and their ticket prices and how you were reaching your customers to be able to sell them. And so when I transitioned off the Amway Center construction project on back into kind of more normal business operations, I was part of a small team that was tasked with creating an analytics functional area, and a team that was focused on how do we make data a priority, and then how do we transform that into improved business strategies for us. And so ticket pricing and ticket analytics was kind of the first territory that we ventured into, because I think we really
was the first pillar. Like the CRM, like the ticketing CRM was the first pillar to really like becoming a data-driven franchise or organization. Started with the ticketing.
Yeah, and really even ticket pricing. I think recognizing that we needed to be smarter about how we priced our tickets, varying the price game to game based on different factors around the opponent or the timing of the game or other circumstances. And then secondly, predicting the retention of our customers and how likely a member was to retain their membership or churn from year to year, and what were factors that we could begin to identify that would make customers at risk. And we could use those insights to build a better membership program and to try to influence our fans to try to stay with us. And so those were kind of two of the areas out of the gate that we emphasized. Our team also at that time was a very, very competitive team on the court. We reached the NBA Finals in 2009. We were, I think, an Eastern Conference finalist team in 2010. And so I think there was recognition that it was important for us to try to better understand how we could maintain members, knowing that team performance wouldn't last forever, and it didn't. We struggled for quite some time after some of those really impressive team performance runs.
Yeah, but it's I mean, I guess it's part. I mean, the ups and downs. It's part of the journey. You have some key periods like that, and you have some down periods as well from a sports performance side. But that's turning. Okay, so really starting to focus on the data. Now I start to see the pattern. So from the ticketing, you started to expand a bit more to, or the vertical, or you took over a bit more the business strategy as a whole, applying potentially the same methodology in terms of understanding the customers, understanding the needs from the sponsors in terms of what you need in terms of delivery, potentially showcasing them data, or what's the value for them in terms of being your partners and all the rest of the activities, I guess.
Correct. My role, and in many ways my department's role, is to act as an internal agency in many respects, where we're leveraging data and we're helping ticket sales or sponsorship or premium sales, in our retention teams, better understand their customers, make better decisions, use data to their advantage. And so we really kind of the fundamentals of our business strategy and innovation team is data management, research, insights, business intelligence, digital marketing and other marketing technology. Like we run all of our data-driven marketing areas. So our email, our website, our app, online paid advertising. But then we also, as a department, and this is kind of really became more of my focus in around 2018, was long-term strategic planning and innovation. And
that's what I'm about to ask. It's like, this I understand. I mean, if I can make a parallel, like back in the days, 2017 at UEFA, with the new presidents coming in, we started to have what we call very pompous world, but it was the intelligence center. And the idea was to say, okay, new strategy, and you need data and innovation at the core of it to actually enforce the long-term plan for 2020 until 2024 strategy and even beyond. So I was about to ask you, when does innovation kicks in, or is it because it was more something back in 2017, 2018, where you had new tech, potentially even more startups coming up, and so there was a need as well in terms of leveraging the outside, so the external, while I love what you said in terms of being an internal consultancy. I saw myself as the UEFA Innovation Hub as an internal consultancy, helping the colleagues as well internally. So I really like the parallel there in terms of like, you're not just leveraging the outside, it's how you transform the company from within, like really helping them, but how do you accompany them in terms of like cultural and mindset change from a pure medium to long term. So that's why I was asking, I was wondering, when does innovation kicks in, and what does it change a little bit from the pure data driven and support you can have from a pure business insights, data research perspective that you mentioned?
Yeah, I think so. A couple things that I would respond to with that. We, especially early on after 2010, were very focused on operationalizing analytics and just, better pricing our tickets, better predicting customer behavior, season ticket member retention, member acquisition, launching a CRM system and running our marketing and our sales campaigns more effectively. But what we also started to do was, as we had built predictive models to predict customer behavior, we really started to understand what were some of the factors that were most important in determining whether a season ticket holder was going to renew. And I think where we started to, even when innovation wasn't part of my title or I wasn't oversight of it, we started to take insights from our commitment to data and analytics and understand how we could develop better products for our customers, better experiences for our customers. And I think that we were being inventive and innovative and trying to kind of modernize some of the more traditional and rigid ticketing products. And so if you haven't heard about our Magic Money program, we in 2014 started to allow our season ticket holders to return games that they were unable to attend back to us. And so instead of just telling them, hey, you can resell them, you can forward them to a friend or let them go unused, we knew that overall utilization was the top behavioral predictor of whether they were going to renew their membership. So giving them a convenient way to give us the tickets back, convert the value of that ticket into a digital currency for them that they can use to customize their experience however they want. And so over the course of the season, we play 41 regular season home games. You can return 15 games, create a balance of Magic Money, which is the name we give to the currency, and then upgrade your seats, bring a group of friends to a game, pay for concessions or merchandise, and really flex your investment however you want. And so that I think is perhaps one of the best examples of
it's quite impressive, I want to say. But how did you, just like, if I pose on that one, is your team helping the guys from the ticketing directly and with the insight? I mean, how did it work out from like understanding the behaviors from your fans and making that potentially you had like a trial, like, or a test periods? Like, how did it work out, like, operationally?
Mm-hmm. So at the time, it was my boss and predecessor, Anthony Perez, who left as our chief marketing officer. It was a project that, together with him and our ticketing leadership, I think we recognized that there was an opportunity for us to create a new product feature, but a pretty transformational product feature for our season ticket holders that would allow them to create more customization and personalization to what their member experience looked like. And so we had to identify technology partners to help us in this journey. And some of those were existing technologies that we already use. We've used Ticketmaster as our ticketing partner, and we've worked collaboratively with them to advocate for some of these product changes that allowed for these solutions to come to life. And we also looked for new players as well. And so I think part of it was bringing it together. But I think more to your point, we had buy-in, and it's not always the easiest to get, but we were very fortunate. We had the vision and the belief of some of the ticketing leadership within the organization to introduce this, even if it was disruptive to their operations in some respects, right? Is like, okay, well, like we're selling these tickets now and you're giving our fans the ability to like give them back to us, what are we going to do? And we're like, well, we can then resell them as single game tickets, right? And in the long term, we can recoup value there while also allowing our members to have a better experience and renew at a higher rate. And so it's not always easy. And sometimes you do have to pilot an idea. Or
was it one of these best practices or quick wins, if you want, that allows you to open other doors, and so to then grow this kind of test trial or creating new products or embarking potentially other units, or when you had other priorities, other business needs, you could was it kind of a door opener for other projects of yours?
I think we probably had some examples of door openers, quick wins before this, and that were less complicated. Variably pricing our tickets led to greater ticketing revenue and attendance levels. and running more effective campaigns through segmentation and insights around who we should be targeting, and kind of some of those practices, I think, opened the door for a much bigger, more transformational effort like this to take store. But I think this has been a really organization-wide commitment, this project, and it continues to be, I think, a really important feature for us. But it does take everyone kind of believing in this to bring it to life. And it takes ticket operations, ticket sales, client services, marketing to make sure that our fans are knowledgeable around, what are the benefits that come with being a member in this respect, and that they're using it to their fullest. But I think, tying this back to the innovation conversation, we were attempting to use insights coming out of our commitment to analytics to positively transform our business. I think this is a good example. At the same time, we made a commitment in 2014 to create an innovation department and an innovation lab facility in our corporate offices that I think it wasn't a part of our analytics and strategy team at that time, but it helped us as an organization to, I think, develop an even stronger culture to be willing to try new and different things, to work cross-disciplinary on projects that we felt like could allow us to achieve breakthrough results. And that, I think, has kind of simultaneously with our commitment to data, being data-driven, benefited us in the long run, because people have a mindset of a willingness to try new and different things. And it's from our ownership to our executive leadership, it's really stressed. Innovation is one of our stated core values. And I think because of that, some of the challenges that oftentimes you may face, implementing new ideas, we've had a little bit less resistance to that, because there's so much buy-in and emphasis around that's part of our DNA.
Yeah, you've put, for me, 99% of innovation is processes, ultimately. And so if you put the right setup process in place to allow for execution and to allow for these kind of new ideas and for this testing culture, I think you've win it all. But I think in what I hear from you, and that's something that's a prerequisite and that's a must, the buy-in from the C-level. The buy-in, the top management pushing and allowing for this cultural change and for this failure, and potentially for pushing as well everybody underneath. That's a key. That's a must-have. But then, even though you have this buy-in, sometimes I've seen many innovation initiatives fail because it's not run properly or the execution seems badly. So that's where potentially you can tell us a bit more. It's for you, what would be you are often called the champion of innovation and a bit of digital transformation. So what was the key of this recipe for you in order to be successful in the organization, to allow for these processes, to allow for this culture, and so to be at the forefront actually of innovation and new tech?
Part of it is balancing an approach that's bottoms up with one that's guided around core focus areas. Because obviously you want new ideas, and the value of kind of driving innovation is creating value from new ideas and solutions. And so one is being active in listening to people throughout the organization for new ideas, right? But you also have to be disciplined and prioritize what are
the strategic priorities from the boards, and that's you have a journey to follow.
And I do think it's difficult sometimes in sports, because unlike other industries and companies that can grow into new markets, right, or develop new products, our business model as an NBA team is, we know how many games we're playing, right? And we know how many will be home and how many will be away. We are an Orlando-based operation. We're not growing into these. And so there's more structure and definition to that. And I think that creates the importance of having, like you said, what are our directives? And so I think in 2018, so I I had the innovation department kind of restructured under my leadership at that time. Previous to that, Jack Elkins, who was the founder of our innovation department and our innovation lab, and had done a great job of growing that culture. And I think that cultural commitment to innovation. But when it came kind of underneath our business strategy department in 2018, we really wanted to try to create that balance between these are our innovation priorities, and we're going to go through an internal process where we talk and listen to everyone and then establish, a prioritized list of 5 to 10 things that we're really going to try to achieve in advance. And in that way, we know how to engage our staff in different ways around these. And so, creating a frictionless venue, flexible ticketing, rethinking some of our premium products, some of these concepts, you would hear recurring themes, and they would continue to bubble up, and they became guiding focuses for us. And then I think we have members of our innovation department who are project facilitators and project managers and work with other departments, maybe on those departments' priorities, and use design thinking and other, kind of design or other innovation
technology
to bring forward value. But we also were able to take these North Stars, if you will, around what are the areas we need to be innovative, and kind of work with our collective organization to try to achieve progress there.
I definitely see the funnel from like the bottom up, seeing like, okay, everybody can be involved, come up with your ideas and everything. But then you have the prioritization matrix to a certain extent where, just like you said, you have your North Stars, and this needs to help us level up or improve in these key areas where we think there is a priority here. So I definitely see it. But usually, when you talk about innovation or change, it's like reluctance. Like people first are either afraid and reluctant. And so having people to come and say, no, but we're here to support. This is like free cost for you. We're just here to help. Let us manage, or let us potentially help you find or better understand the problems, and then better solve these problems through the different methodologies you mentioned, design thinking or whatever. But how was it received? Was it because of the buy-in from the top management? It was quite smooth, or did you have some difficulties even at first in terms of like making sure the entire organization like flows into it? And how did you make that happen? Because I think this is some kind of a secret sauce at some point, even in sports organizations where usually you are not that much. I know in North America it's a bit different, but usually, like you mentioned, sports organizations are still traditional. And in the way the business is set up, you're not necessarily changing everything. So bringing on all the organization, changing the mindsets and all of that, I would be interested in hearing your thoughts on that.
I think, generally speaking, our buy-in process has been rather smooth, never perfect. And
I need to change continent. I need to move. I need to relocate in the US.
A couple of things that I would credit with this. One, I think are, like you said, the C-suite buy-in, and it being vocally stated as one of our core values and a commitment that we are making, and not just lip service. Like, we've put dollars behind it. We created an innovation lab. We've invested in building a business strategy department. This isn't just something that we say we're committed to and don't put our resources and commitment behind. Another piece, and kind of, we talked about this in our pre-conversation. The NBA as a league, and the league office does an amazing job, I think, of promoting a culture of innovation and challenging teams to be embracing of new technologies and new ideas, and also showcasing that at a league level. And so, for instance, the NBA puts on sales and marketing meetings every January, and executives from all 30 clubs go to these meetings. And the league, in addition to calling out best practices by teams, has league updates, and then really, in a constructive way, I think, like, focuses us as teams in a league on new concepts, new initiatives, promotes kind of this culture of creativity and innovation. And it's certainly something I know when Commissioner Adam Silver took the helms. Innovation was one of his most important priorities out of the gate. And so I think that kind of cascades down in many respects to NBA clubs. And the other piece that I think that I enjoy about working in sports, we're really big brands. We're medium to small sized companies. But to a consumer, to a fan, what you experience in the outside world, you expect in many, especially, like you expect when I am dealing with the Magic. And so if I can use my app to order food to my house and, schedule the time and pay for it all right there, like, why can't I do that when I'm going to a Magic game at Amway Center? Or if I can book a house using Airbnb or Vrbo, right? Like, why can't I have flexibility in my ticket package? Like, and if a conflict comes up and I can't go to this game, why can't I just return and exchange with you? And so I think accepting that some of that is, while challenging and can be disruptive, some of that can lead to positive pressures of like us embracing these types of approaches and process, like you said, processes that help us ultimately create a better business and a better fan experience.
Yeah, no, on this one, I think your franchise in the NBA at first, like globally, is maybe at the forefront in terms of understanding that changes, the needs and the consumption's needs that have changed and radically changed over the past years, and how we need to innovate to remain relevant as sports organizations at the end of the day. And I agree with you, but I think the Timbo at the league level is also super helping from a benchmarking perspective, knowing where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, what you need to prioritize, how you can implement, and how you can learn from the best practices from other teams. So no, I definitely see it. After, I think you at the Magic, maybe it's me hearing it from you, and it feels like it's a bit unique in the way you've done it to a certain extent. I mean, you can have the push from the league, that's for sure, and everybody's trying to push the needle, but to a certain extent, you have already pressed the button, and that's something core to your DNA. So I think there is something even more there. There's something like very recent, like you've mentioned all the internal processes, and I love it because usually people think that innovation is about brainstorm session and ideas. It's about solving a problem first and understanding that problem. And second, everybody who's talking about innovation thinks about new tech, digital transformation, and startups. While you've been saying very clearly and loudly, which I love, the point from the top management, the processes involving the people from internally, from within the organization, which is key to me. But you've just launched like the innovation challenge. I guess that's also part of the whole journey, also like the emulation or maybe the needs for the innovation strategy to formally take place with your colleagues and the different departments internally. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I'm really happy to talk about this. We just completed our second Orlando Magic Innovation Challenge event. Our first one was last, I want to say April, and we just completed our second one this past weekend. And what the challenge is an event where we offer the opportunity for people external to the organization. And so you could be a student, okay. You could be a student in college, undergraduate or graduate. You could be someone working in, corporate whomever, a startup enthusiast. Most people are students or just very passionate about entrepreneurship and innovation. And so we had 70 total participants sign up for this event. And the way that it works is this past one, we did a reverse pitch process. So we had executives from throughout the organization come and communicate a very kind of clear business challenge. And so we had 6 different business challenges around membership, premium, fan activation, growing our fan base globally, how we better use esports and in-venue signage. And then we allowed the participants to kind of pitch ideas that touched on one of those. They would form teams. They would work on that idea for really 2 days and receive mentorship from innovation experts from the Orlando, Central Florida community, as well as from employees of the Magic. And then at the end of the weekend, they would pitch to a judging panel their idea. And ultimately, there were, kind of one winner overall, but three prize-winning teams that kind of were recognized. But overall, what's amazing is, so firstly, I think for us, it is a way to involve the local community and source ideas and inspiration from people who may not have any experience in sports business, but immerse themselves for a weekend in your business and go through the process of gaining research and validation, right? And kind of putting together a solution for you. And so I walk away, one, really inspired because I think there's so many good ideas, whether it's exactly as it was pitched or it just opens your mind to new and different ways of doing things. And so we've done this for a second consecutive year. We also introduced a similar challenge, but internal to just Magic employees. And we felt like this was so effective.
So same process, very just for internal.
Yeah, slightly different, but yes, where any employee could sign up. And I think we had, probably 40 or 50 employees go through a very similar process and pitch ideas that
entrepreneurs. I love
about half a dozen were like my team is working to implement and working with operations to kind of try to implement some of these ideas. And what you'll find is that oftentimes very few, or maybe not very few, but some require no new technologies. It's simply a change in business practice process. And, working to kind of implement those is obviously can be simpler in some ways, can also be a little more challenging in other. But it's fun. I think it's part of our demonstration to being innovative, right? And giving the floor to others, both externally and internally, to bring forward new ideas and to work with other colleagues and stakeholders that you may never work with, right? So we have people from our human resources department and legal department working together with
financial.
Financial.
Definitely.
It's really a cool process to go through. And adds value in so many different ways beyond just innovation.
Maybe it's too early stage, but I was wondering if you had different ways to approach. I mean, it's the same, more or less, it's the same process, same challenges, but you have people living in the Magic world, living, breathing the industry, and that's part of their daily job. So I was wondering whether there's already some kind of a way to apprehend or a way to tackle these challenges or the issues that are coming compared to completely external, completely new people that can come up with like the most silly ideas for people from within the industry, but sometimes that comes up from an angle that no one has seen about. Have you seen that kind of difference between the internal and the external, or not really?
We have. I think oftentimes what you'll find, you touched on it. So internally, a lot of the ideas or solutions may address how an employee can better achieve their job, right? And so a lot of the solutions are maybe more about creating a better employee experience, creating a tool that allows employees to have better collaboration or communication amongst one another. And externally, because they've never had the experience of working for the Magic and going through that, it's around fan experience. It's around educating them around like the game of basketball or what's happening with the Magic, connecting them for more of the off-season period where perhaps they're really dialed in during the NBA season, but once the season concludes, they don't think of the Magic as often. And so I do think we see a little bit of just kind of the natural viewpoints being different in terms of how they're thinking and what solutions they believe are most important. But I think they complement one another. And if you're doing both, it's great to get those different perspectives. Yeah.
And I think it's great as well for the staff to work together and get to know better each one with the internal lab and the internal challenge. And at the same time, it's great to involve them as well with the outside and the community, because they get fresh, new perspective, and they get out of it like very two different things, which is, I think, for the organization, I mean, for the team, it's as an organization as a whole, it's great. So I'm quite cautious of the time. I have so many other questions. We need to do a second podcast, mate. I think we need.
Up to. Let's do it.
There are still two questions I want to ask, but right before that, I just had one that I wrote down while you were discussing. It's how did you funnel the challenges? Like you've mentioned, like for me, it's part of the innovation strategy, and it's always hard in terms of you have your pipe and the funnel, and you go through different gates to make sure at the end potentially it's properly implemented and everything. But how do you come with these kind of external challenges for the community, for every kind of student or worker or startups out there? Is it something discussed at the manager level and potentially directors, and that is then to the C level, or how have you worked that out?
So this past challenge was the first time that we called it a reverse pitch, where we basically established these 6 areas that their pitch solutions needed to address. Those 6 areas were the result of a filtering process that we went through, where our innovation team went on a listening tour, is how I would describe it, where we intentionally scheduled time with every business unit leader throughout the organization and asked questions like, what are your longer term strategic and innovation priorities? And you would hear a lot. We learned a lot. You would hear ideas ranging from very like global things to much more tactical and, short term, depending on what that business unit leader was tasked with and what their area was. And so then we as a team tried to organize them into those common themes, right? And kind of the North Star directions that we needed to be working in. And we used that to guide this. Last year, we didn't do that. We just said any idea that touches on the fan experience. And you can expect, you got NFTs, you got metaverse, you got blockchain, you got virtual reality. And a lot of this was really awesome, but it also oftentimes was abstract and a little bit more.
It's not framed. It doesn't help you, and it's not framed to your needs. So it's sometimes inadequate in terms of translating that to your needs for your organization. Well, that's why I love the reverse pitch, actually. But it's a big job that you've done then in terms of listening to or making sure you prioritize them, and you end up with 6 which are clear. I think it's a very nice way to do it.
Well, thank you.
Last questions. I need to ask you that because we'll do another podcast, I'm sure. You've briefly mentioned it in terms of how you need to change or adapt to new behaviors, to new consumptions. I guess like the engagement of new generations is pivotal, especially for innovation strategy. So how do you keep adapting to younger fan needs? How data is playing a role maybe around it? What's your take on that one?
Yeah, this is crucial. I think, and this is an area where we work closely and oftentimes look to the NBA league for leadership in this space. But digital transformation and thinking about so ticketing products, we've talked pretty extensively about already, right? But like adapting our ticketing products, what the in-venue fan experience looks like. I think another area that we are really focused on and will continue to be a priority is capturing content and packaging video, podcast, image content in a way that connects with fans and makes being a fan of the Magic convenient, simple, valuable. And so that requires access to the team, that requires openness, that requires staff and production of that requires distribution of it. So I think you recently talked with Jason Bieber at the NBA, and you heard more about and their initiatives. The NBA relaunched its app. It created an NBA ID membership program. It's delivering content in a more vertical form that's very similar to how it feels on social media channels. And so we're working on all of those same things too. And I think that is in part to stay connected to the younger fan base. The other piece that we're involved with is the NBA 2K League. We have a professional esports franchise, and I think we recognize gaming and gamification and esports, and all of these are strategies as well to grow interest in the game of basketball and connections to our brands. And so it's something that balancing what is the requirement of today and the business of today with how we need to prepare for the future is a priority, as part of my role and my responsibility with the team. And those are a couple of examples of ways in which we're focusing on that.
No, I like it. Really, I like it. So I'm just watching the time for the people that just hear me. But
I pushed off my next one. I told him I was going to be 5 minutes late, so we can let's go. I know you got one.
All right. I just wanted to ask you. We usually like to finish with a bit of inspiration, or that's an easy one to go. I think I always like to hear from new people, to listen to new podcasts, to potentially read new books or whatever, watch a new TV series. So do you have any kind of new recommendation of something you've come across that you feel it's a must read or a must watch for anybody in that space that want to level up?
Yes, I do.
Right.
I just finished reading a book called Loonshots by Safi Bakal. And the book is about how to nurture crazy ideas. And
Love it.
Kind of the subtitle of the book is How to Nurture Crazy Ideas That Win Wars, Cure Diseases, and Transform Industries. And there were a couple things that are, I think, very applicable to our conversation today. One is that oftentimes great ideas have to go through 3 deaths before they're actually accepted and implemented. And so for us who are innovators, having patience, and just because an idea died once and was met with resistance doesn't mean that it's a bad idea or couldn't still have viability. The other piece that we talked about today from the book is balancing what the author refers to as franchises versus loonshots, right? And so you need your dreamers and you need your operators, and you need to love and embrace both. But you need part of your business to run predictably and be operationally efficient, while you're also thinking about ways in which that can be disruptive and advanced in the future. Yeah. And so it's a really good book. It's filled with great historical examples of ideas and companies that have failed or succeeded in this space, and makes it, I feel like, easily understood and digestible in some respects. And so people who work in innovation, business strategy, analytics, I think it's a really good book for thinking and kind of being inspired in that space.
I think I will have a read, because from what you say, it feels like can help me as well in terms of improving the playbook. You always come up with these kind of initiatives, and the way you see how to make an organization more innovative. You don't have only one recipe. It all depends on the organization, how it structures, and the people within it. But from what you've just said, it feels like, okay, you have some kind of decent research and like data and insights from it, in terms of like, okay, what are potentially key success factors or some few ideas in terms of improving your playbook for innovation strategy. So that's a good one. Thank you for sharing it. I think
Thank you.
And just thank you for the time, Jay. Honestly, it was really interesting. It was really a privilege. So I was joking about it, but I had a lot of other questions more on the data side of things, in terms of how you operate it, how you've transformed your database, and how do you leverage data to your daily activities. But that may be for another discussion, or once I'm flying to the US, maybe I will see you one and we can have a chat about that.
Well, I welcome you to Orlando. Come visit us in warm and sunny Florida someday, and I'm happy to continue the conversation. But thank you for the invitation. Thank you for your podcast. As I was telling you before, it's incredible, the list of people throughout the sports industry that you're able to have these really, really interesting conversations with, and it adds a lot of value to the space and people like me. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. We hope you enjoy it as much as we love creating them. If you like the episode, feel free to comment, rate, and share with people around you. You can visit our website, www.lastsource.io, to learn more about our activities. You will discover a wide range of articles and can subscribe to our newsletter to receive the latest tech and sports news in your mailbox every month. Stay tuned for new episodes.
Le corner.